If you've been wondering at what point was this going to crystallize for you and exactly how do you transition a 5-figure request into a 6-figure consulting solution, your wait is over. This is it. You will see that you've been like Dorothy and her ruby slippers in The Wizard of Oz. You've had the power all along. The way you turn a request into a consulting gig is when you make explicit to this client how your expertise and your stance to solve their business performance gaps. We've discussed expertise and stance in both Organizational Consulting 101 and in Consulting Branding and Marketing. So it's time now to bring out those worksheets and study them. We're going to use them now as you put forth your offer in the form of your methodology and options. In the methodology and options section of the proposal, you're going to want to accomplish 3 things. First, you want to give your client an overview of what steps you think they should take that would move them from today to their desired future state. So a couple of years ago, I flew to Nantucket from Boston on one of those little planes, and I got to sit up front, which was really fun. And I'll never forget the moment that when the clouds parted and the runway on the ground appeared. And when you put forth your methodology, you are giving your clients what I call the runway experience. The runway experience gives your client confidence that you know exactly how to help them. And it allows you to draw from all your past successes to explain your rationale and sets the framework for the options that you're going to offer. Second, you want to provide your client options for how you can support them in the execution of your recommended methodology. Now, options are important for a couple reasons. It does change the conversation from if we're going to work together more towards how. It also promotes buy-in because they are making a selection. When I was an internal consultant at Walt Disney World, we always provided options for our clients of different ways we can implement our recommended methodology. And when I started learning about business development, I discovered the power of providing options of increasing value. Now, both can work, but the more adept you can get at bundling your services and showing the value, the more you can increase your compensation. Third, you want to explicitly detail the joint accountabilities between you and your client. Joint accountabilities serve as a role clarification exercise where you can make explicit what each of you will do and what you need from one another in order to do the work. Now, we're going to discuss the importance of contracted expectations when we get into closing the deal, but for now, it's important to know that as in all relationships, the root of conflict is unmet expectations. So the more you can draw out of your client what they expect from you and express what you need, the greater the likelihood is that your partnership will be extremely successful. So now you know what you want to accomplish with methodology and options. I'm going to provide you the steps. Step 1. Review the performance gap that you and your client have already come to shared understanding of in the directional agreement phase of the partnership setup. And then step 2, back away from the requested solution your client asked for and your favorite consulting techniques such as strategy, training, coaching, and so on. Step 3, think through your stance and what you believe creates leadership and organizational capacity and how it applies to this client situation. What's the big picture that you think they should do that would most effectively and efficiently bridge the performance gap? Step 4, document your high-level methodology in a manner that makes your thinking explicit, as well as transferring knowledge and skills to your client. For example, when I have a client dealing with a customer service gap challenge, I might use the visual that you see on your screen to describe what they need to do to improve customer satisfaction. For clients dealing with a leadership performance gap, I might use this visual to describe my stance that training is often necessary but rarely sufficient when it comes to leadership development. Step 5, come up with at least 3 options for how you could support the client in implementing your recommended methodology. You can create options around to what degree you will support all the work phases, the robustness of what takes place in each of the work phases, or break up the work into work phases. Whichever direction you go, it's a good idea that you include your client's requested solution in option 1, but make option 1 meaningful enough that it provides your client what they need, not just what they want. Step 6, identify how long each of your recommended options will take to implement. Now, timing is important because you do want to have boundaries around your consulting engagement. And step 7, outline your joint accountabilities of what you and your client each will need to be accountable for. The key here is that if you want to expand the scope of what you offer to your clients and your compensation, you have to put forth your high-value options into a context that demonstrates to a client that you are absolutely someone who has what it takes to help them meet and exceed their goals using a proven methodology that has a track record of yielding the results that they seek. The key here is that if you want to expand the scope of what you offer to your clients and your compensation, you have to put your high-value options into a context that demonstrates to your client that you are absolutely someone who has what it takes to meet and exceed their goals using a proven methodology that has a track record of yielding the exact results that they seek. So we covered a lot of challenging content in this one video, and I want to remind you to consider the benefit of having a mentor and guide to help draw out of you what you have inside, which is significant expertise that your potential client can definitely benefit from. Join me in the next video where we will discuss pricing.